2.
Want to do like the awkward?
Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I just feel like doing the awkward like third grade school photos, like.
I don't just hold it for like 3 minutes till it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, we're just waiting for some people to sign on, and then we're gonna get started. Clint, are you ready for this?
Yeah. Every time I've had a DM say, "Are you ready for this?" I'm not. So now you've made me nervous.
Oh, geez, already messing up right off the bat.
Nah, it's fine.
Just getting up our little like. Intro.
I put my 20 in charisma.
20 in charisma. That's all you need. Oh, you're outweighing me today. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started, everybody. My name is Alexis with Mastermind Adventures. Mastermind Adventures is a team of creative professionals who are conquering isolation and loneliness by building community through play. One of our initiatives is the Game Master for Hire program, DM for short. These awesome folks are storytellers who can bring the world of role-playing games to life for you and your friends, no matter your experience level. And today we're going to be talking to Clint Lineau. Hello, Clint. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. I'm like cozy. I have my essential oil things on. I've got a candle burning, and is it raining where you are?
It is not, but it is very cold, which like I'm in Texas, so nobody knows how to deal with this. They're like, what, how, what?
It's just like
It's super cold, yeah.
How cold?
I think it's in like the 40s, which I know isn't like, oh, it's so cold, but like when you're in Austin, Texas, and it's like 90 in September, then yeah.
Yeah. I remember having family in Florida when I was a kid that I would laugh at because they'd send pictures with like their jackets on in 50-degree weather when it got that low down there one time. So funny. All right, Clint, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about your origin story and how you got here?
Okay, so I have been playing tabletop role-playing games for about 16 years, and I've been DMing about that long because I played one game and I'm like, oh, well, I want to try telling stories. And that is always the most dangerous thing you can tell a group of D&D players is I want to tell the story, because then you'll do it forever. But it's also fun. I love it. I love being able to tell a story. And so I was just doing that for fun. And then I was on Facebook one day and I saw a thing pop up like, hey, you want to maybe do this for not just fun? And I was like, yes. And I saw you guys do work with like children's groups and stuff, and I'm definitely into that because I came out of school with a theater for youth degree because children's theater is one of my passions, as is just telling stories. So then I got a message from Kristen saying like, hey, you want to join our team? And here I am.
That's awesome. Do you have like a favorite method of storytelling? Like obviously you're a game master, but is there a certain format that works better for you?
I don't know. I just really like verbal storytelling. I feel like it's a medium that's kind of fallen to the wayside in, modern media because we have, so much TV and everything that just people just telling each other stories doesn't really happen as much anymore.
Yeah, that's so true. I always was envious of people who grew up with like radio and just sitting around a radio and getting to listen and like experiencing that, and how there was kind of an innocence to it where there wasn't TV and there wasn't such like I think we actually have a lot more storytelling in the world than we think about when we're just off the bat, but we think of like movies and TVs when there's so many other worlds. So what types of things do you plan to offer at Masterminds, or what's your mission at Masterminds in general?
Okay, so my mission at Masterminds and what I want to offer is a very like story-driven sort of campaign where I will definitely do modules and stuff, but I want to do more unique stuff where I give the players like prompts, like, okay, you're in this world, here's what's happening, and now you tell me the story. And whatever your character wants, I'll make sure that incorporates into the story, and that's part of the bigger world. And so I basically want to have I want to write a story with my group of players rather than telling them a story and having them just be pieces that move. I want them to be living characters that do affect the world, do affect the story, and make the story flow as it goes forward.
Cool. So you never know what's gonna, like, what type of path you're gonna be on. You have like your character and you have the intention, but then you're gonna be guided through some epic stuff.
Yeah, and like I'll have like paths set out, like if they go this way, this will happen. If they go this way, this will happen. But as having been a DM for 16 years, usually if I give my players 4 options, they will choose option 6. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's so fun. Do you have like a memory of something you had to come up with on the spot? I didn't prep you for that one. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So in my most recent game, we're in the fictional world of Ravanya, and in Ravanya, the basis is there used to be this evil archlich named Athenos, and he ruled forever until this paladin came and stopped him. And then as a reward, the gods gave him eternal life. And so he's been ruling kind of benevolently for all this time. His one rule is he doesn't allow arcane magic. And so my players did some stuff, and he wanted an audience with them. They went in, and one of my players said, I want to roll an insight check. This was our druid. So the druid had 20 in wisdom, and then rolled a nat 20 on insight, and I rolled a natural 1 for his deception check, and I had to send a private message that's saying, this guy's lying. He made a pact with the Lich, and he's the phylactery. They weren't supposed to know that for like 8 more sessions. Oops. But I'm like, I can't not have a nat 20. And because he was under a truth spell, like they had set me up. Like they're like, I don't let them trust this guy. And I had done everything to make him trustworthy. Like I hadn't been overt about it. I hadn't given them any reason not to trust him. And then it just, thankfully the druid, like I sent him a private message. The druid was like, I'm just going to hold on to that information because I don't think the party needs to know that just yet. Because I feel like as a player, he was like, you didn't want us to know this, and I want to see where the story goes with everyone not knowing this.
Yeah.
But I really had to be like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Because the paladin definitely knew that they were on to him. And so then he started to send them on more dangerous missions, like, oh crap, they know my secret, I got to get rid of them. But I got to make it look like it's an accident.
That's so cool. I like those are my favorite stories. They're like the things that you didn't plan out. And then you're like, it actually ended up to be a way cooler adventure. And then in this case, it ended up working out.
It did. And now they have defeated the paladin. And it turns out that the reason that he didn't kill the Lich was because he and the Lich were actually keeping back dangerous gods. And so by killing him, they've unleashed the gods onto the world. And now they got to go fight those.
Oh, geez. More problems.
Yeah.
See how you can just stumble into it?
Yeah.
Do you find you have like a past in acting as well, right?
Mm-hmm. I have been acting since I was 6 years old. So I've been acting for 28 years.
That's so cool. Do you find that you have to use like deception skills or some faces that you've learned in acting to help you in your game master role to keep them from getting in on everything?
Absolutely. The game master poker face is my most important skill.
Very
like just the you sure that's what you want to do? Or like hey, could you roll my favorite thing to do is like, could you roll a perception check? There's nothing for them to see at all. But I'm just like, yeah, just roll a perception check.
Yeah, to see what happens.
And then like they roll bad and I just go, okay. And then nothing happens. But they're always like, what?
That's part of the fun though, is like the hype and being like, what's gonna happen? And I think like having someone who's so interactive and can kind of create that mood it makes the game, it elevates it so much.
Yeah. What I like to do more with my acting is one of my big skills is voices. So I like to make sure that all of my NPCs have like very unique voices.
Ooh, can you do one for us?
I'm on the spot now.
I know. Wait. I'll think of like a sentence or something. Just something like to walk the dog in the park or something and say it with a funky accent.
Okay. Well, there is Captain Abrielle Frost. She is my French tabaxi captain, and she likes to walk the dog in the park. Oh!
That was so good.
Yeah.
That's hard. hard to do them on the spot. I actually do a pretty good British accent, but every single time someone asks me to do it, I hear it coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, "Rrr." You've had lots of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think one of my favorite characters is Bruce. He's a blacksmith, and he's in love with our cleric. But she's not allowed to know that because Bruce is a tough guy. You can't fall in love with anybody, you know.
Oh my gosh, that one was.
So yeah, so I like to do voices like that for just whoever.
Did you do like voice acting or something like that?
I've tried to break in. It's pretty hard. It's a pretty saturated industry, but I like doing it for the players, and hopefully maybe somebody will hear me one day and be like, "You should be in pictures." I'm like, "You're right, I should." Thank you.
Thank you. We'd guide the way. Here we go. No, that is cool. It's such a fun element. Like, I don't know, that's an aspect I love. Like, even if you're not actually gonna go out and like role play, it's still fun to like dress up or get into character in more ways than just knowing the story and like playing the game out as you would in your head. I'm a big fan of like adding in different elements.
Yeah.
So cool. What types of campaigns do you have open, or will you have open, or do you have any games going on right now? Anything you want to promote?
I have some ideas going forward. I don't have anything open just yet, but I have some ideas going forward. I want to do a game that's a little bit kind of more like a murder mystery. It's a little bit more of an intellectual thing, because my favorite monster in the monster manual is the Mind Flayer. It's one of the only things that actually scares me, because fighting epic dragons, that's scary, sure, but you know how to defeat that. But something that can just kind of show up, take over your mind, manipulate whole civilizations, and then just kind of make people disappear really frightens me.
Don't like that.
So I've spent like the last couple of months like developing new kinds of Mind Flayer. And the whole thing is going to be like the players go to this village and everything looks fine, and it turns out there's Mind Flayers, and there are new breeds of Mind Flayers, and they're starting to like take over and interact with this world, and it's going to be really cool. Like, I don't want to give away too many of my secrets, but all I'll say is, if you play in my Mind Flayer campaign, don't trust your eyes and don't trust the detect magic spell, because there may be people that just look like normal people who might have a couple extra tentacles.
Oh geez. Now I'm actually curious. See, now I'm like, what types of other Mind Flayers? What do we got going on here? But I want.
Okay, I'll give one away. Okay. I've made a Mind Flayer called a Broodguard, and that is an Elderbrain has put a tadpole into a Fomorian, which, if you don't know, is an Underdark giant, and it's basically turned them into a giant, hyper aggressive but kind of primal Mind Flayer. So they're just these they're huge size. So they're just these big, strong Mind Flayers who don't really have any intellect. So they're very savage. Yeah. But the Elderbrain can imprint on them. So if you find them in the wild, you fight them like a savage monster. Like, they're still Mind Flayers, but they're not going to try to like take over your mind. They're just going to try to smash you and eat you. But if you fight them while they're protecting the Elderbrain, which is the whole reason the Elderbrain made them, he's going to be like, all right, you have to protect me. And then they get access to the Sentinel feed. So if you try to fight anything but them, they get in your way. And they also get his intelligence. So they go from intelligence 5 to intelligence 28. So,
jeez. Yeah.
So that's just one thing. I'm not going to give away anything else, but that's one of the things I've worked on.
That's so fun. That's so creative too. I like that. I like the in-depth elements of all of that. And then like, I enjoy that stuff. I would not want to come across one of those at all. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your storytelling podcast? I know you have that going on, and I'm like, by those.
I would love to. Yeah. So it's currently hosted by Buzzsprout, but you can listen to it. It's hosted on all of the podcast things, Apple, Google, Spotify, stuff like that. So it's called By the Dancing Fire. And I got that name from when I was coming up in theater for youth. We had to like write little scripts, and I always loved like the old art of storytelling, like why people told stories. And so I decided, well, what if I wrote my own myth? So I wrote a myth called Fire's Gift. And it's basically like, because if you look at old myths, it's like, okay, so this is why this happens. Like lightning arcs between the clouds because there are these thunder lizards that are moving between the clouds, and that's what you're seeing. So I decided that the reason that fire is the color it is and flickers is because I gave fire kind of like a feminine spirit. And the first time she saw man, she fell in love with him, got really embarrassed, and blushed. And then he told her that she was beautiful too, and she got so excited she started to dance. So I'm like, and that's why whenever you see fire, she turns red and starts to dance. And so I just named my podcast after that, By the Dancing Fire. And so I just tell stories from just old stories. I've told a story from Norway, a story from Denmark, and an old Cherokee story. And I use the voices that I was just talking to you about to embody the different characters in the style of just like a storyteller. So I'm telling, everything. So I have to capture the entire story with just my voice because there's no visuals.
That's so cool.
So yeah, if you want to check me out, By the Dancing Fire on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts.
By the Dancing Fire. I love that. Is it mainly like mythology and just ancient stories, kind of like creation stories?
Well, yes and no. The first story I told was East of the Sun and West of the Moon, which is actually a Norwegian Beauty and the Beast. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, cool. No. But now I'm going to look into it. East of the Sun, West of the Moon?
Yeah, it's really lovely. And one of the reasons I like it is because it's very old, but it's definitely very like female driven. And I'm big on like empowering, people of any gender or no gender and putting that forward. And the great thing about that story is it's definitely like a cursed prince and a princess. But about halfway through the story, like the princess like breaks, like causes the curse to get worse. And the prince is like, well, there's nothing we can do. I guess we just lose. And the girl's like, no, I don't accept that. And so she ends up going on a literally impossible journey to cross into a world humans aren't meant to go to get her prince back. And it's really wonderful. It's one of my absolute favorite stories. So
yeah, that's so cool. Do you ever find, I mean, I already have an answer to this, but do you find there's like an overlap in different mythologies and different cultures and the stories that they tell? Do you ever feel like there's like they're kind of like how that was kind of a telling of a Beauty and the Beast that was Norwegian? Do you find that there are a lot of stories that repeat in different cultures and in different time periods?
I do, yeah. Or at least like follow the same themes, like, cursed prince needs this to get out. Yeah. Needs to find true love, needs to not be seen in his true form for a year, needs to get a kiss from a princess, which is hard if you're a frog, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that's something I really like about storytelling in general is just how there's similarities throughout times of different stories and things that get retold. And there's different, we've all seen different lines of, they can take place in outer space or in a mythical world, or they can be in this reality. But I feel like a lot of the themes get repeated. And it all, to me, like I can always boil it down to just like lessons for humanity or just for living life. And I think that's the coolest thing about stories.
Yeah. And I also love like stories like Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is literally an undefeatable foe, but he will always be the cause of his own downfall. And I feel like the lesson of that is no matter how difficult a situation looks, as long as you like keep analyzing it and think of it from a different point of view, you can always find your way through it. And like Rumpelstiltskin seems very dire until the miller's daughter goes into the forest and hears him bragging, like, she'll never learn my name is Rumpelstiltskin. And she's like, oh, well,
there you go.
I did now.
Yeah, that's so true. He did it to himself. Do you have a favorite story of all time?
Absolutely. East of the Sun and West of the Moon.
No way.
I love that story. That's why it's the first one I told, because it's just like, I know that if I'm going to start this off, I want to start it off with, like My Heart and Joy, which is East of the Sun and West of the Moon. It's everything about it is beautiful. I'm kind of a fan of the cold and winter. So like, I like the winter theme. I like the the use of the wind as a character. I like the introduction of the very powerful introduction of Norwegian trolls, because trolls are big in Norwegian folklore. I like the number of times that story has been retold. And I also like, I don't know, I just like it. It's definitely my favorite story. Now that might change as I research more stories. I'd be like, okay, you know what? Now I found one I really love. But right now, yeah, that one sits at the top for me.
Yeah, it'll always hold a place in your heart anyway for being the first one. Like I always think about books I read when I was in like elementary school or something, like, you know, your favorite childhood books, and I'm like, oh, they definitely don't like hold up now to things I've read now and just like getting so much more interested in more complex stories, but they're still like my babies.
Well, and I also love finding stories where like a culture has taken a character and they exist in other cultures, like the African stories of Anansi Spider, or the Native American stories of Grandfather Coyote, or, you know, Zeus. Obviously, Zeus is a big problem causer in Greek mythology.
He's all over the place, that guy. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. So wait, I've just got a little side question. How long have you been in Texas if you love the snow? Love the cold.
So I moved to Texas 2 years ago while my partner was finishing up grad school.
Okay.
And then we just haven't left yet because there was work here. I got work with kind of like a festival, traveling festival gig, which obviously isn't happening right now.
Yeah.
And they are looking into design work because they're a lighting designer. And so we just decided to hang out. And yeah, people ask me, they're like, you like the cold, how do you end up in Texas? I'm like, well, you know, this is just where I ended up. This is where I needed to be.
Life happens, right? You just go, you're definitely where you're supposed to be, though. That's funny. I know, I heard as soon as you were like, I like the cold, I'm like, oh, you must not have been in Texas forever. Unless it's just like,
no.
That you're just like imagining. You're like, I just need to be somewhere cool.
No, I'm from North Carolina originally.
Oh, no way. I used to live there in Charlotte.
Oh, cool. You have a lot of family in Charlotte. I'm from the Cary area.
Oh, okay. It's it's probably one of my favorite places ever. I don't know. I judge Charlotte. I mean, I judge North Carolina by Charlotte and what I've seen in Charlotte just traveling around. So maybe I can't speak for it all, but I don't care. That place was so awesome. I feel like the whole state, epic.
No, that's fair. Charlotte's pretty great. You know, I mean, North Carolina is like any state. It's got its good parts. It's got its parts. But that's even a matter of perspective. Like, the parts that I might not be very fond of, there's a lot of people who are like, no, that's the best part of the state. How would you like Charlotte better than, I don't know, Lizard Lake?
Yeah. There's more like beautiful nature areas outside of Charlotte. I found just traveling around, like the view other places. I think it's just like an eclectic mix of people, and it's kind of on that cusp of like, it's a city, but it has a small town feel, and you can actually drive around. So that's cool. Can we talk a little bit? I won't keep you too much longer, but I'm really curious about behind the scenes work that you've done.
Okay.
Just in theater. I don't know if you've done anything for film or any aspects outside of theater, but that's fascinating to me. Like, I've always loved behind the scenes. Like, every DVD I ever got with that little like extras portion, I would always watch the extras first and just see like how they made the sound, how they made the sets, how they made the costume.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have done a little bit of film. But I am primarily a theatrical actor, specifically with reference to, I hesitate to say stunt work because I feel like stunt connects to film, but like stage combat and also theatrical pyrotechnics.
Oh, wow. Stage combat. What's that? What does that entail? How do you get
well, like if you're doing like an epic sword fight on stage, obviously you can't kill the other actor every night. That would get real expensive.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to learn how to fake it safely and learn how to fake your fights safely. And so it's, you know, a lot of that. Like, I've been doing stage combat and like specifically sword armed stage combat for a good number of years. Gosh, 12 years, I think I've been doing it.
Oh, wow.
And it's so much fun. and it's so crazy, like the stuff you can do with stage combat. And people are always like, well, how do you do like fighting and like how do you focus on combat and movement if you're a children's theater actor? I'm like, because the first thing that I have learned about children's theater is that there's nothing funnier to a child than watching an adult fall down.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And so I just take all of my stage combat and adapt it to slapstick, and kids eat it up.
That's awesome. So true too. They're easy laughs. Yeah, classic. Just go back to the old school. That's so fun. I feel like having all those elements, like having experience in theater and having experience behind the scenes and like doing a podcast is going to be such a strong, it's just going to make you a stronger GM, you know, because you have more than just like one form of storytelling and one view of it.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to be able to adapt to what players want. Like if they say like, you know, I don't really want to write a backstory, I just want to fight monsters. I'm like, all right, I can make that happen for you. But if they say, you know, I am from this decaying family line and my brother wants to kill me and my father is the Duke and I carry the sacred sword of my people, I'm like, all right, cool, bet. He's now the Duke of this country in my world. And this is how we're going to keep all that in. And oh, now the big bad evil guy who was this lich is now your brother. So thanks for that.
That's so cool. It is true. It's important to like remember how to like help somebody guide them through their story and not be like so firm and this is how it's going to play. Because how do you have fun in that like mechanism, you know? Jeez,
well, it's like I said at the beginning. You want to give them a world and then let them tell the story.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. That's so cool. And then having the extra experience is just going to help you be like more creative and be able to adapt to the different decisions that they make more easily.
Absolutely.
So fun. Do you have anything else you want to talk about or anything that you wanted to add?
I don't think so. I think we checked all the boxes.
Awesome, Clint. Well, it was so fun talking to you. Where can people find you other than Mastermind Adventures?
Well, they can find me on the podcast if they want to listen to me, the By the Dancing Fire. That also has a Facebook page. Or you can find me on Facebook. I don't really do a whole lot of the different social media stuff, but they are more than welcome to find me either of those places. I'm super open to chatting with anybody about any questions they have or anything like that.
Awesome. This has been so fun, Clint. It's been awesome getting to know you, everybody. Clint Lineau. And we will be back every Tuesday and Thursday to get to meet our general I almost said general managers. Where's my brain? Our game masters for hire. Thank you.
I did forget one thing, actually.
Oh, go for it.
I do also do Twitch streams Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at Red Wendigo 88.
Red Wendigo 88. That's important. We're big fans of Twitch here.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Twitch. Twitch is a blast.
Awesome. All right, Clint, I had so much fun talking to you.
Me
Everybody
too.
tune in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Go to mastermindadventures.com to be able to hook up with Clint and more awesome GMs for hire. Bye, everybody.